You ready? All right, people, this is not a Viva on the street. This is Viva on a snowmobile trail. It's spring break in Quebec, and it's still winter in Quebec. This is an update on a story we've been covering from the beginning, which is the arrest and continued detainment of Tamara Lich and Pat King, two of the alleged organizers of the Freedom Convoy 2022 protest, which saw thousands, if not 10,000s of big rig trucks, protesters drive up on Parliament Hill, park their cars and trucks on Parliament Hill for upwards of 3 weeks until Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act for the first time in Canadian history to suppress what he described as a violent, extremist, anti-black, racist, transphobic, misogynistic, anti-Semitic protest. 3 weeks of what was, without a doubt, perhaps disruptive, but the most peaceful protest you had ever seen. If anybody has any doubts, you can go back and watch my 40 hours of live stream documenting of this protest. Justin Trudeau, after 3 weeks of this protest, decides it's a national emergency warranting the invocation of the Emergencies Act for the first time in Canadian history. It used to be called the War Measures Act. That had been invoked, from what I understand, twice in Canadian history. Once by Justin Trudeau's father. They invoked the Emergencies Act, and this peaceful protest, which did not see an ounce of violence in the 3 weeks that it was there, all of a sudden got violent. Police came in, busted up the protest, busted up protesters, literally. We've all seen the footage now. And arrested some of the alleged organizers of the protest on charges of mischief, inciting mischief, counseling to commit mischief. Basically charges that are mischief or mischief-oriented in and of themselves. Under Canadian law, mischief is sort of a hybrid charge. It could be an offense punishable on summary conviction, which is a not serious type, or an indictable offense, which is serious mischief. Justin Trudeau his police arrest two of the alleged organizers of the protest, Tamara Lich and Pat King, and they have been detained since their arrest. It will be 2 weeks tomorrow for Tamara Lich, and I think about the same for Pat King. Detention, pre-trial detention. No bail granted, no release granted for charges of mischief or inciting mischief. Pat King had a hearing on his bail. Judge says, if I release you, it's going to impugn the judicial system. It's going to cause people to question the judicial system. He's still in jail, even though the judge recognized he could be in pretrial detention for longer than he would be if he gets convicted of mischief. Tamara Lich had a second hearing because her first hearing for bail was also refused. Despite the fact that she had agreed to undertake to respect the conditions, continued detainment. After the Emergencies Act was rescinded by Justin Trudeau before it could be ratified or rejected by the Senate because it had been approved by the House of Commons, after he rescinded it, it seems that, Tamara Lich got a second kick at the bail can and had another hearing yesterday to argue for why she should be released from pretrial detention. She had already been in detention for 12 days. Why she should be released on charges of mischief. And David Amber, who's an Ottawa attorney who's representing some of the protesters who have been roughed up by the cops, gotten tickets, etc., he was live tweeting following the hearing. And the hearing, to say that it will cause people to lose faith in the judicial system is an understatement. People have been referring to Pat King and Tamara Lich as political prisoners. You know, growing up, I always gave that concept a very serious meaning. Like, you think of political prisoners, you think China, you think North Korea, you think Russia, you don't think Canada. You don't think that people would actually be detained in jail without being released on bail for charges of mischief. And yet, lo and behold, that's what we have here, because this entire situation is so politicized that people, common citizens, actually think it's justified to continue to detain people who are, in the legal sense, innocent. Innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. These people are innocent, legally speaking. They may be found guilty, but for the time being, we are talking about continued, indefinite detainment of people who are legally innocent on charges of mischief. Bear in mind that other people, other individuals who may or may not have driven a vehicle into 4 protesters and then fled the scene were given bail. Bear in mind other people who were accused of having committed very serious violent crimes, drug-related crimes, get released on bail. And there were lawyers in the hearings for some of these people saying they had never seen such onerous bail conditions imposed on drug dealers or alleged murderers compared to what they were imposing on these alleged organizers of what until now is nonetheless a lawful protest, despite what politicians say. You know, the politicians are calling this an illegal protest, yet that injunction court order said that so long as the protesters respect the court order, they are within their rights to protest peacefully and lawfully. And there has been no order to the contrary as of yet. So setting all that aside, David Anber was live tweeting, watching the hearing. And what he was describing will cause regular, open-minded people with a sense of justice to lose faith in the judicial system. They brought Tamara Lich in with chains on her feet. I made a joke that she's arrested on mischief and she's being treated like Hannibal Lecter. According to David Anber's tweets, she was brought in with shackles. The judge had to order the shackles to be removed because the prosecution apparently thought it was appropriate and warranted to continue to hold her in shackles on her feet, charges of mischief. And they're arguing for the terms of release of Tamara Lich on these charges where she's already been in jail for 12 days. Now, it was a CTV journalist, I would say journalist, but I don't have my second hand, who took to Twitter to accuse another blue checkmark on Twitter of providing misinformation because that individual said indefinite jailing of someone accused of mischief should be outrageous. And then this journalist, his name is Kevin something, says, that's misinformation. She's not indefinitely jailed. Why, she's having her bail hearing today. To which I said, 12 days in pretrial detention on mischief charges is indefinite detention, regardless of whether or not she gets out. Indefinite detention is not permanent detention. So even if she gets out, which she should, she will nonetheless have been indefinitely detained on charges of mischief. So whatever, I called out that individual. And my goodness, did his tweet not age well? Because they argued all day yesterday for the release of Tamara Lich via her defense attorneys. Prosecution argued all day that pretrial detention is necessary. The judge said, I've got to sit on this. I've been sitting since 9 o'clock this morning. I've got other obligations for the rest of the week. I'm going to render judgment on Monday. That will be over 2 weeks. It'll be 2.5 weeks after Tamara Lich was arrested on mischief charges, 2.5 weeks in jail. And these justices, these politicians want to talk about preserving the integrity of the judicial system. This is Canada's January 6th, not in terms of the event, but in terms of the weaponizing and malicious prosecution of the accused. These people are accused of non-violent crimes. They have been detained for 2 weeks because this is a political crime. They embarrassed the administration by having the most peaceful protest you can possibly imagine for 3 weeks, starting an international movement of support. They're being punished for that right now, for organizing the protest. So that is the latest update now. Tamara Lich is still going to be in jail until Monday when the judge comes down with his ruling. And I've got to tell you, I'm a little discouraged because if the judge were going to release Tamara Lich, I think he would have been compelled or felt compelled to do it and then render the decision as to why later on. The fact that he's not leads me to believe that he might not be releasing Tamara Lich and has to draft a very, thorough, well-reasoned, and I would dare say politically motivated decision as to how the pretrial detention of Tamara Lich can possibly be justified in a free, democratic Western society. My opinion, it can't. It cannot, and it's impossible to. And anybody seeking to try to justify this either works for CTV or other state-funded media, or is just so politically blinded by all of this that they think anything goes if it happens to your adversary, without thinking that one day they might just come for you. So that is the update on Tamara Lich. We'll be following up. I've got news. It'll come out as any news comes out. You know what to do if you like my channel. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Drop a comment, share away. Winston, what do you have to say? If you do not fight for justice everywhere, you are not fighting for justice anywhere. And it's not because you don't like what someone has to say that you should not defend their right to say it, because history can teach you one thing if you're paying attention. It's only a matter of time before they come for you. With that said, booyah. Peace out, peeps.